What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I just wanted to go over the results of UFC 249. It was a crazy event. I'm so glad we had live sports back again. It was a joy. I had a great time. Starting off with the main event, Justin Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson. It was a crazy fight. It was a bloody fight. Both guys rocked each other. It was pretty close to getting stopped several times for Justin Gaethje. He did get caught with a big uppercut that rocked him, but it was at the end of the round. He escaped the round okay. So in the fifth round, he really just started putting it on Tony Ferguson. He was hitting him with some big shots that you could tell were rattling Tony's brain around. He was having a hard time, but he's so tough he wouldn't quit. But, you know, he really laid it on him. He busted him up. He broke his orbital bone. And, you know, with a little over a minute left in the fight, Herb Dean actually stepped in and stopped the fight and said he'd seen enough. So I thought it was a great stoppage. Could have probably been stopped a little bit earlier, but I have no problem with the stoppage. It was not early to me. But Justin Gaethje is the interim title holder now. He'll fight Khabib probably in like September or October, I think they're talking about. We'll see what happens, and then hopefully Conor McGregor versus the winner of that fight. That'd be great. All right, into the co-main event, Dominick Cruz versus Henry Cejudo. That was a good fight as well. It only went like a round and a half, just under 2 rounds. Henry Cejudo, I think, controlled the first round pretty easily, but then the second round you saw Dominick Cruz starting to put it together, starting to get his timing down, and starting to move and look like the old Dominick Cruz again. They clashed heads late in the second round, and Henry Cejudo actually he had a hairline cut, started bleeding pretty heavily from the head. And then you kind of thought, oh, okay, maybe the tide's returning and Dominick Cruz is starting to take this fight back. And just as I was saying that, I think 5 or 10 seconds after the headbutt, Dominick Cruz feints and goes down low, and Henry Cejudo comes up with a knee and just connects right on the chin and knocked Dominick Cruz back and dropped him on his ass. Dominick Cruz was trying to get back to his feet. I thought that stoppage was a little bit early in the co-main event. Dominick Cruz had his wits about him and was trying to get to the fence and get up to his feet, and the ref stepped in. He probably could have stepped in a little bit earlier, but Cruz was starting to recover and get back up, and that's when he decided to call the fight. So to me, it was an awkward stoppage. But I agree with the decision. Cejudo was winning the fight. I didn't want to see Dominick Cruz take too much more, but then again, who knows what would have happened if he escaped the round. But it was a good fight. Henry Cejudo has defended the bantamweight championship against Dominick Cruz now, and after the fight, he actually retired. He got on the mic and said that he was done fighting. I know that he retired from wrestling. After he won the gold medal at 21 years old, he retired from the sport of wrestling. And now 33 years old, just hitting his prime in MMA, and he got on the mic after the fight and said that was his last fight and he'd be retiring. There's a lot of talk about it being, a leverage move, that he's trying to get a new contract. And the UFC really didn't seem like they were budging. When they asked Dana White after the fight about Cruz's retirement announcement, Dana just played the part of, okay, well, if he's retiring, if he's talking about it, then I think he should do it. And talking about making fights for the vacant bantamweight title. So that was a crazy fight. I don't know what's going to happen. I think eventually Cejudo will come back, but I think for right now he's done until maybe the division, starts to take off again and they need that big guy to come in and beat the champion. Or they just need a big draw at bantamweight. I think they call Henry Cejudo with some better numbers and offer him, maybe close to $1 million to fight. In the third fight was Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Francis Ngannou. Battle of the heavyweights. Short fight, only lasted 20 seconds. But really, unless you're watching, you have no idea which way it would go because they're both strong, powerful guys. Rozenstruik opened up the fight with 2 inside leg kicks that were tough leg kicks. They were hard. And you could almost see on Ngannou's face, he was like, all right, well, that's enough playing with that. And he just blitzed him, bulldozed him up against the fence. I think he threw a 3-punch combination and landed with a third left hook, and dropped Rozenstruik and then landed 2 solid shots on his head while he was sitting down on the ground up against the cage. He was knocked out immediately, so there's no controversy to that stoppage. But Ngannou is a beast. He's got so much power. I think he's much improved from when he lost to Stipe in the championship fight. And I think he is next in line for a championship fight after Daniel Cormier. I don't know if Daniel Cormier is going to actually fight Stipe Miocic, because Stipe's been saying that his gym's closed down and he doesn't have a lot of time to train, and that he may not fight until later on, fall or winter. So I know they're trying to make a fight for the heavyweights, Daniel Cormier versus Stipe, but if Stipe's not game, there's talk about the UFC stripping the heavyweight championship from Stipe Miocic, and probably Daniel Cormier versus Francis Ngannou, which is a terrifying fight for Daniel Cormier, but I still think Cormier wins. I think he wrestles him like Stipe did. I know that Ngannou improved a lot after he fought Stipe, but Daniel Cormier is a whole nother wrestler. He's an Olympic wrestler, and he had a similar fight against Anthony Rumble Johnson, who is just freakishly strong as well and has 1-punch knockout power. And Daniel Cormier just dragged him to the ground and out-wrestled him in both fights. He beat him twice. So it was good. And just when you think Rumble's coming back, he knocks out a few guys, he fights Daniel Cormier again, and then it looked even worse than the first time. So Daniel Cormier is a whole nother freak, a whole nother level of athlete, and I think that Cormier wins the belt back soon, either in a vacant title fight against Francis Ngannou or in the trilogy fight against Stipe Miocic. So this is pretty much my review of the fight. I had a blast. I had a good time watching it. If you guys have any questions, throw them in the comments below. Any topics you want me to talk about, throw them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.